Okay, so we are on the 16, Berachot 16, A. הקורא למפרע לא יצא. We learn in the Mishnah that one who recites Shema and he is out of order, he is not fulfilled his obligation. Meaning he need to return to the place that he erred. Rabbi Ami ורב אסי אבו כקטרלה גננה לרבי אלעזר. So with regard to an error of recitation of Shema, the Gemarah recounts Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi were once trying to a wedding canopy in preparation for the wedding of Rabbi Elazar. He said to them, in the meantime, until you finish, I'll go and hear something in a study hall and I'll come and say to you. So he went and found the Tana who recite Mishnayot in a study hall, who was reciting this Tosefta before Rabbi Yochanan. So what happened is these guys are friends and they're preparing the canopy and they're preparing everything for the wedding, and the groom is a student of a rabbinical school, and he wanted to use every second properly, so he felt, why should I waste time looking at them preparing my canopy and preparing the wedding? I'll go to the Beit Midrash. I go to where we study, and I learn something new. So he went there and he heard before Rabbi Yochanan, קרא וטעה ואינו יודע להיכן טעה באמצע הפרק, יחזור לראש, בין פרק לפרק יחזור לפרק ראשון, בין כתיבה לכתיבה יחזור לכתיבה ראשונה. So he went to the Beit HaMidrash and he heard beautiful halacha. He heard that one will recite the Shema and make a mistake. So remember we discussed yesterday, someone make a mistake. So you don't know where exactly the mistake. So he said, if it was in the middle of the paragraph and you realize that it's an error, so you have to return to the beginning of the paragraph. But if it was between one paragraph and another, and then we realize that it's a mistake, you don't remember which paragraph is a mistake, so he said you must return to the first break between the paragraphs. So he said then if one make a mistake between the writing and writing, which means, for example, between the verse, and you shall write them on your doorpost and the houses and the gates, right? Or in the this paragraph is the same paragraph in the first. This line is the same line between the first paragraph and the second paragraph. You say this line, "Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha b'sharecha." So you don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am at the second or the first. Right. You are not sure. So he said he must return to the first writing. So this Talmid Chacham, we learned two things. First of all, he didn't want to waste time. He watched everybody preparing for his wedding. He says, let me go to Beit HaMidrash and I learn something. Mm-hmm. One. Second, he went to the Beit HaMidrash and he learned something beautiful. Learn that if they say Shema and you're not sure where you are, so you should figure out what is proper. If it's something that you know, so you can go to the beginning of the paragraph, beginning of the two paragraph. But if it's the line that repeats itself twice, so you have to go to the first time that's written that line.
Is this only referred just to the Shema or any part of the prayer where we...
Excellent question. It's referred to Shema because, as we said many times, that Shema, it's a obligation. It's not just a simple obligation. It's an obligation to say it with kavanah. And since we have the obligation to say it's the core prayer, therefore every letter, every word carry a meaning. We should have the kavanah, the full intent. It's a good question. So therefore every time we said something, because we get used to something, and it's appear like it's a routines, you like chewing gums, and it's always the same. Yeah. So they want to make sure that you're focusing on what you're saying. And some people are spacing out, so it's important to know. אמר לרבי יוחנן לא שנו לא שלא, פתח בלמען ירבו ימיכם, אבל פתח בלמען ירבו ימיכם, סרחה נקד ועתי. So Rabbi Yochanan said to him, they only taught in halacha in the case. So this fellow, he heard a discussion. So discussion says that you should know the halacha, that this is only in a case when war and one did not yet begin leman yirbu, in order to lengthen your days, which follow the verse at the end of the second paragraph. However, if the person already began to recite leman yirbu in order to lengthen your days, so you can assume that his routine and continue to complete the second paragraph. Sarche nekat ve'ate. So it's called in Hebrew shigrat lashon. You get used to something, so it has to continue. Leman yirbu, if you remember, that's almost the middle of the section, or the end of the second paragraph, and leading to the third one, the tzitzit parshan. Ata ve'amar lehu. So Rabbi Lazar came and he told Rabbi Amidah and Rabbi Asi what he heard. Oh, they are so happy. They are now fixing him up for the wedding. They preparing this canopy, and they are sweating and preparing. He came back for Beit Midrash and he told them the halacha. So they אמרו לו, אילו לא באנו לשמוע דבר זה דיינו. They said to him, had we come only to hear this halachot, it will be sufficient. So it's they are very pleased to hear this halacha. So several halachot. I want to just to mention few halachot, because you see halachot lemaaseh several things. First of all, Shulchan Aruch in Samech Dalet said clearly that kara lemafreya, if someone reads something and it's not in a subsequent order, so b'med dvarim orim, that apply only beseder hapsukim, if you made a mistake in the order of the line of the sentences. Aval ikdim parasha lechaverta. If you start with tzitzit instead of vayayim shomoa, in other words, you said ve'ahavta and then you jump to tzitzit and then you come back to vayayim shomoa, so you can't do that. סעיף ב' קרא ודילג פסוק, חוזר לראש הפסוק. If you climb over one line, which means you start והיה אם שמוע תשמעו אל מצוותיי תתתתתם, and then you skip a pasuk. You go to the next pasuk and you skip one. So they said you have to go to the beginning of the sentence, beginning of the pasuk. However, אינו יודע, if you are not sure, especially we mentioned earlier, if it's the same pasuk, and you're not sure where you are. You're saying something and suddenly where I am. And you don't have the siddur. Sometimes we said it should be a siddur and you finger there. Or the best is like the Sfaradim, that they all say it together, out loud. But if you are somehow by yourself or you're praying and not, so you have to go to the beginning of the parashat, beginning of the paragraph. Im eno yodea, for example, if you say the line uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, you should inscribe them on your doorpost. And that line, it's reciting how many times? Twice. So you don't know where you are, so where you go? No, help me. Where you go?
Go to the first one.
First one. But we said here in the conclusion, if you start leman yirbu yimeichim, serchenaket, so you don't need. It's serchenaket. Also, Shulchan Aruch said in Seif Yud Aleph, if you read it together with the tzibur, korei ma tzibur, and you said uchtavtam, and the shliach tzibur, where is the shliach tzibur? At the first paragraph. So he said muchecha sheta'a. So if you're thinking I'm in the second paragraph, you're wrong, because if the shliach tzibur is the first one, so you have to be with the shliach tzibur at the first one. Mishnah. האומנים קוראים בראש האילן ובראש הנטבח מה שאינן רשאים לעשות כן בתפילה. This is they said about people who involve in labor. You employee, you are a laborer, and you engage in the work, and you recite Shema while you're standing at the top of the tree or the top of the stone. The Mishnah on purpose bringing an extreme example. Soon you see the goal of the Mishnah. One of them is the whole idea that you're employed by someone. So you are basically, in that sense, at that time, belong to your employer. So we here describe by halacha what exactly you write as far as praying. I can attest you several examples. One is when I was in service. So I was for a long time in service. Sometimes on doing training, it's very hard to find time to pray. It was always a discussion how long and how much, and mission, it's a different story. But then when you enter the domain of working world, and you know I was a import-export manager for a long time, and then I was interim CEO for company. So at that time, there is an issue because I get a salary from a company, and how much and how far you can go with the length of prayer while you need to do your job, because you are hired to do a job. So the Mishnah said, "Ha'umanim korim berosh ha'elan," those laborers, they are staying at the top of the tree. So soon you see what type of tree and what type of situation. Now they want to say Shema. Can they do that? So the Mishnah said, basically they can say it, "Ma she'enam krashein la'asot ken batfilah." So Shema you can do. Amidah, tefillah, always remember when you use the word tefillah, apply to Shmoneh Esrei. So when they say the tefillah, you have to have the intent, you have to have the kavanah. You cannot do it at the top of the tree. Next part, later the Gemarah elaborate on that. חתן פטור מקריאת שמע בלילה הראשונה עד מוצאי שבת אם לא עשה מעשה. So the Mishnah said the groom is exempt from recitation of Shema on the first night in his marriage, which was in those days in general it was Wednesday night, until Saturday night, Motzei Shabbat, if he is not taking an action and consuming marriage. Why? Because we said that the person in the first marriage is so preoccupied with concern relating to the whole mitzvah of the marriage, so he is in a different world. In our language we call it he's high, right? Different world. ומעשה ברבן גמליאל שנשא אישה וקרא לה אלה הראשונה. It's the story about Rabban Gamliel that he married, and even he was married, he still say the Shema even the first night. So again, we always use Rabban Gamliel as example, as a nasi and as a role model. So אמרו לו תלמידיו, the students said, "Oh wait, לימדתנו רבנו שחתם פטור מקריאת שמע, you taught us that did not teach us that the groom is exempt from recitation of Shema." אמר להם, "איני שומע לכם לבטל ממני אפילו מלכות שמיים אפילו שעה אחת." I'm not going to listen to you to refrain me for reciting Shema and in so doing prelude myself from the acceptance of the yoke of the kingdom of heaven for even one moment. So he was he hold that he is capable, he can focus. The whole idea is he has the kavanah, he can focus, etc. So a few halachaot. I just want to first mention halacha, the Tur and the Rambam in Sefer Ahava, Ilchot Kriyat Shema, in the second perek, in Shulchan Aruch also, in Orach Chaim 63, they said that one who is performing labor atop of a tree or engage in the concentration of a course of stones, so he may recite Shema, but no distinction made between labor and homeowner in this case, and no such distinction appears in the Gemarah. So it's no difference. In other words, the Shema, we said it's okay. Based on the ruling in the Mishnah, a groom is exempt in reciting Shema on his wedding night and 3 days afterward, as long as he did not consummate in his marriage. Today, because is in normal circumstances, one is incapable of achieving the appropriate level of intent when reciting Shema, so even a groom is obligated to recite it. That's the Tosefta said, and the Rambam Sefer Ahava Ilchot Kriyat Shema said it, and Shulchan Aruch in 70 said it. Now, the Gemarah is fascinating. It tells us, Tanu Rabbanan, האומנים קוראים בראש האילן ובראש הנטבח, ומתפללים בראש הזית ובראש התאנה, ושאר כל האילנות יורדים למטה ומתפללים. So here we distinguish between different trees. First we talk about the umanim. So if you have a fig trees or olive trees, so it's a strong tree, so it can hold, you can stand there and make the Shema. But other trees you have to go and say it. The owner הוא בעל הבית, בין כך ובין כך יורד למטה ומתפלל לפי שאין דעתו מיושבת עליו. The owner, he's so preoccupied with this, so you have to go down and make it ב-18. So there are 2 points I would like to share with you here, very important. One, we discuss the idea of marriage. So I know one of my friend, he got married in a very old, relatively old age, and early time when we are student in yeshiva, one of the yeshivot I study was a yeshiva called Knesset Chizkiyahu. It's in Kfar Hasidim, it's in the North Haifa, in Galilee, in Israel. So we have 2 students, one of them married, if I'm not mistaken, close to his 50s, first marriage. But early time he wrote a book, all the halachot in Ktubot, 9, Petach Patuach, it's all kind of marriage, Sfek Sveika Mitapech, Rabbi Akiva Iger, all kind of complication in halacha and marriages. He got married and he have those problems. He had problems. So one of us asked him a question and said to him, Rabbi so-and-so, you wrote a book about it. So he answered and he said, Torah magne umatzle. When I was studying Torah as a student, the Torah protected me and I can answer all these things clearly. Now when it turned to my own life, my own personal life, sometimes there are circumstances that there are different, and even it turns that things are different than the way that I describe only as a student. Those of you who enter college or different universities, you know that what you study in theory and what's the practicality is sometimes different. But the second point I would like to share with you is the whole idea of the employee. Employee, when you're hired by someone, we divided between, soon you see the difference between hired by someone and get paid by food or by lodging, you're allowed to sleep, you have a place to eat. I was a guest by Rabino Tabatsnik several years ago, he's the chief rabbi of Mexico. So I saw all these maids that living in almost separate places. It's the huge mansion. So I said to him, "Oh, so many people you have here, they not allow me to touch, to clean dishes or do anything, nothing." So he said, many of them, they are so happy just by giving them food and place to stay. So there's one category of employee that they get paid by just you provide them food and place to stay. There is another category of employee that get paid for the time, which means he or she is working and they get a salary. The minute you get a salary, everyone agreed that he or she, the owner, owning you. And because they own you, then the time is not yours, the time is the owner. So since it's a famous story of Abba Chilkiah, I don't want to go there in the Gemarah, but it's basically, you are not on your own. It's not your own business, it's not your own time. Somebody else own your time. And because someone else own your time, therefore it's an issue of you to take a time for prayer. There is an absolute minimum required and there is elaboration of prayers. Prayer can be short or can be very long. So that's part of our discussion now. Rami le Rav Mari brei de Rav Shmuel le Rava. Rav Mari, if you read here the Rashi and the commentators say, Rav Mari was the few places called the son of Rachel or son of Shmuel. So his mother was she kept it by the enemies, by the idolaters, and she was. Some verses said that she was raped. Anyway, since it was embarrassment to mention the fathers, they mentioned the mother. So he asked a question. But anyway, she was a daughter of great rabbi by the name of Shmuel, so they mentioned the father's, the grandfather's name. האומנים קוראים בראש האילן ובראש הנטבח. Alma lo by Kavanah, since you tell me earlier that the umanim, the laborer, they can read at the top of the tree. So he said, you learn from that you don't have, it's not required intent. So simply recitation is sufficient. ורמין הקורא את שמה צריך שיכוון את ליבו, שנאמר שמע ישראל, ולהלן הוא אומר הסכת, ושמע ישראל, מה להלן בהסכת, אף כאן בהסכת. We said the other place that we use the word hasket, meaning pay attention. So when we say Shema Israel, you have to have full attention. So it's like you're contradicting yourself. You say that just as they pay attention, so you should pay attention. Ishtik. So Rava was silent and he had no response. Amar le midi shmiya lach beha. But he said to him, have you heard anything on this matter? אמר לאחם הרב ששת והוא שבטלים ממלאכתם וקוראים. Reply, he said, Rav Sheshet said as follow, this halacha, the laborer may recite Shema at top of the tree, only apply when they are idle from their works, so they recite because they cannot they can focus their heart. והתניא בית הלל אומרים עוסקים במלאכתם וקוראים. בית הלל say that you can occupy in your work while you say לא קשיא בפרק ראשון או בפרק שני. What's the conclusion? פרק ראשון is the first paragraph ואהבת.
Right.
So ואהבת, you need the full כוונה, so you can stop. The פרק שני, the second paragraph is different story. So Tosefta here, just because we're running out of time, give the abbreviation. Tosefta said that Rabbi said that you can say Shema at the top of the tree and it's okay, but the halacha, they said it Kuf Tzadik Aleph, that does apply only to Shema but not the Shmona Esrei, not the Amidah. So if an employee did some work, okay, so again we divided what's the ability. As I told you earlier, when I was on the army in the mission, it's a different story. When you're in training, you have to ask permission for certain time, and it's a time restraint where how much you can do. Then they said, תנו רבן הפועלים שהיו עושים מלאכה אצל בעל הבית, קוראים קריאת שמע ומברכים לפניה ואחריה, ואוכלים פיתם ומברכים לפניה ואחריה, ומתפללים תפילה 18, אבל הם יורדים לפני התיבה ונושאים את כפיהם. So the sages told us in Tosefta as follows: people who works, employee, so they can do Shema, and they can do the blessing before and after, and they can eat the bread and can make blessing before and after. But as far as the Kohanim, so they don't do priestly prayer, priestly blessing, because they have the duty to perform. So ask a question. והתניא מעין 18, אמר רב ששת לא קשיא, רבן גמליאל רבי יהושע. So again, what's involved here? מעין 18 is the abbreviation of 18. So what we're talking about? We're talking about situation that you are employed by someone. What is the employee by someone? So as you know, we have a prayer, it's called Havineinu. It's abbreviation of a prayer, if the urgent circumstance. But employee means, let's say, you walk in a bank, and the cashier is open. And let's say in those days, there's not even surveillance, okay? Can you pull out money and take? No. Why? It's not your money, right? So the fact that the owner or the officer or the secretary is not there, doesn't give you the right to pick up cash. In that sense, that is the same here. Since the time is not yours, somebody else owns you at that time because someone else paying you for that time. So therefore you cannot, when they don't watch you, you cannot play on a Facebook. In that sense, when they don't watch you, even for something like you said, what, I'm praying to Hashem. Praying to Hashem, think about it. If it's urgent, if you just need to say Shema, you need to say a prayer, right? And you tell the Baal Habayit, I need to pray for... So, and he agreed, that's different. But if he is not watching you, right? And you elaborate the time for endless things, it's a question. You need to, if you are self-employed, it's different, but if you are hired, you have to clarify those questions. What exactly it's okay or not. So they said here, this machloket, this differentiation in Berachot is a machloket between Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yoshua. Where you find it? So we learn later, you see it in the Kafchet Amud Bet 28b, if you want to read later, 28b in the Gemarah, you see the machloket. Rabban Gamliel said you should say the entire Shmona Esrei. Rabbi Yoshua said me'ein, in abbreviation. So they said, Rabbi Yoshua ma'ira po'alim, afilu kol adam name. So the Gemarah objected and said, if the Braita is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua, why did the Braita discuss in case involving people in particular? Rabbi Yoshua hold that every person also recite the abridged version of the Amidah. Elaidi v'idi Rabban Gamliel. We must say that the Braita both, it's the way Rabban Gamliel, lo kasha, kan be'osin bischaram, kan be'osin bis'udatam. So here the Braita they speak about the abbreviation. So those who get for the cash. Remember, we explained that the difference, that's very important. We differentiate between someone who is working in order to get food and place to stay versus someone who get money, who get paycheck. So if you just receive food, so you're working in order to eat, so you can say the full Shmona Esrei. But if you get paid, then you have to say the abbreviation Me'ein Shmona Esrei. Okay? Clear? In other words, you get paid, that's the most serious part that we take. Vehatanya. So now we ask a question in Braita. Hapoalim shayu osim melacha etzel baal habayit. If people have employee and they work for the owner, for the homeowner, so they said, בעל הבית קוראים את שמם מתפללים ואוכלים פיתן ואין מברכים לפניה אבל מברכים לאחריה שתיים. So they said that they can do certain blessings but not everything. כיצד? So first they can do Shema and they can do Amidah, but we explain that is a certain restrictions. Why? Things that is in the Oraita is from the Torah, that's one thing. Thing that is rabbinic, we treat it differently, especially time constraining time, because somebody else own you time and somebody else own you and hire you to do certain job. כיצד? ברכה ראשונה כתיקונה. So, because the blessing before the meal is the first blessing after meal, the first grace after meal. So we said that the blessing after meal is the Oraita. ואכלת וסברת וברכת, the Torah requires us to make the blessing. But within that blessing, it's a long Birkat Hamazon. Okay? So we divided. We said Hazan et Hakol. That's prayer that the Gemarah said it's Moshe Rabbeinu made. That prayer, you have to say Ketikuna, the way that it's written. The second, the נודה לך השם אלוקינו אצל ואצל, פותח בברכת הארץ וכוללים בוני ירושלים בברכת הארץ. You make an abbreviation because it's dealing with Eretz Israel and Yerushalayim, so you make it as one bracha, which means you start with נודה לך and you finish ובני ירושלים. It's abbreviation of that. הטוב והמיטיב, the Rabban Gamliel of Yavne, the part after בני ירושלים you don't say. That's much later, you don't say. במה דברים אמורים? Again, in what case we say this? בעושים בשכרן. This is in regard to people who work for the wage. אבל עושים בסעודתן, but if they work for the meal, or if the homeowner say he is part of that meal, is together with them, so that's different. Because if he is sitting with them, which means he acquiesced and he agreed, so they make the full blessing. Okay, so if he's with them, they may recite the blessing with the standard formula. Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch said it in Kuf Tzadik Aleph, in Hilchat Birkat Hamazon, he said that if the owner is with them, so so then it's not an issue. He agreed to pray with them.
I seem to recall having read earlier that even though they speak here of the abridged Shemona Esrei prayer, is that nowadays we don't do that because we generally don't daven the Shemona Esrei with sufficient kavanah that we can just leave out the middle.
Correct.
Is that correct?
I said it many times that in every case we have to ask. In other words, soon you see other halachot, as much as we try to do halacha lemaaseh, practical halacha, because there are so many nuances, you have to ask in each and every case, in each and every circumstance, what to do. It's not just to say halacha, you have to ask, because this type of circumstance you need to know how to do it, because there are some situations, especially a guy like you, they need to sometimes fly very early in the morning, and then you are in the airport in the security, and there's a time running out, and you need to make some abbreviation of prayers. So each and every case you need to ask, and we tell you in that case what to do. But in the general statement, we say that you have to say the entire Shemona Esrei properly. Okay, Chatan Patur Mikriat Shema. So the Mishnah stated further that the groom who married the first married, so is exempt from the Shema. Tanu Abanan. Beshivtecha beveitecha. Okay? Beshivtecha beveitecha. Prat leosek b'mitzvah. So, Beshivtecha beveitecha, we said that it stated that you doing the sitting in your home, so this exclusion to one who involved in a mitzvah. Ubelechtecha baderech. Belechtecha baderech, when you doing the walking in your way, prat lechatan. That's we excluded a groom. Mikan amru. From here we learn hakones et habetula patur ve'et almana chayav. Mikan amru, where it's written. Soon you see it's a question. But that someone who married first time a virgin girl is a different mindset than someone who was married a widow. So because of that, we put it in different halachic category. My mashma, what does the verse imply if one engaged in performing a mitzvah is exempting from saying Shema? So they said, Amar of Papa, ki derech, which means that it's only situation compared to the way. Ma derech reshut, meaning when you go on your way, it's an optional, you do it by yourself, you in your discretionary. Afhacha nam reshu. So the other things is also optional. So now we divided between going for a mitzvah or going for other purposes. Okay, so it said, "Mi lo askinan dekazi ledvar mitzvah, v'afilu achen amar Rachmana likrei." We always said that if you go for a certain purpose, for a personal mitzvah, and you said that you have to recite Shema. Im ken lei makra belechet, my belechtecha. Why you said the word belechtecha? While you're walking, it's enough. Why you need to say doing you walking? Shema mina. We add this letter to tell you. Belechet didach hu mechayav. Had the mitzvah petirach. So if you do a mitzvah, so then you are free from saying Shema. But if you go for your own business, for your own thing, then you are obligated. Okay? So they said, I hache mai iria hakoneset abtula. Afilu koneset almana name. So because betula, if it's a virgin, you say that he cannot focus. But if it's almana, if it's a widow, so marrying a widow, it's also should be exempt, but it's less. In other words, it's there is a Hebrew phrase that said "tirda she'efshar להתגבר." If there's a certain worry that you can overcome, versus something that you're concerned that you are really so focused and you cannot. So it said "hacha terid ve'hacha lo terid." It's an issue that when you are preoccupied with something or not preoccupied. So in the widow, you are, in a sense, you are less preoccupied. You're not so much with imishum tirda. So the Gemarah challenged this point, and they said, excuse me, if a groom is exempt from recitation Shema. Afilu tava sfinato bayam name. If you tell me that it's all due to his preoccupation, so even was occupied with his old boat or ship sank at the sea, so she also be exempt. Alama, אמר רבי אבא בר זבדא אמר רב, אבל חייב בכל מצוות האמורות בתורה, חוץ מן התפילין, שהרי נאמר בהם פאר, שנאמר פארך חבוש עליי. He said that the mourner is obligated to all the mitzvot in the Torah, except the mitzvah of tefillin. Okay, there's a special word, it's called pe'er. So pe'er, you have to have the proper decorum. Amrei hatamtir da derashot, hachatir da de mitzvah. The Gemarah responded, said, nevertheless there is distinction between the cases of preoccupation of a voluntarily act, alright, to the preoccupation of mitzvah itself. So there are several things. Avel, it's called in halacha mitgolel be'afar, someone who's in a great state of sorrow. So tefillin in halacha he cannot put at the first day. The other mitzvot he can do. If it's a personal thing, we call it lefum tzara agra, the sorrow, the greatest reward. So if a person, we said in general that if a person mitasek betzara didei, if Hashem asks us to study Torah, so if he can occupy himself in Torah and it's overcome his pain, it's one thing. But if the first day of mourning, it's such a tremendous agony, he is free from that mitzvah. He's so preoccupied. So we wrap up several halachot. First halacha is a Shulchan Aruch Samech Dalet that said, טעה בקריאת שמע ואינו יודע איך מתי יחזור לראש הפרק. If someone make a mistake doing קריאת שמע and he's not sure, he should go to the beginning of the פרק. ואם אינו יודע באיזו פרשה, if you're not sure, you go to the first, חוזר לפרשה הראשונה. טעה בכתבתם, if you're not sure about, you inscribe them, וכתבתם, and you're not sure if it's the first one, the second one, חוזר לראשונה, you go to the first one. אם התחיל למען ירבו, if you start למען ירבו, it's clear that you are already close to tzitzit, so it's like the word of Rabbi Yochanan, you should continue on. Regarding to the head of the tree, if you are Rosh HaIlan, so they said in Samech Gimel, מי שהיה בראש האילן או בבניין נדבך, מותר לו לקרוא קריאת שמע, you're allowed to say Shema over there, and it's no different, the Tur said there's no difference between the Oman and the Baal HaBayit. Another halacha is Chatan, a groom. So according to the Tosefta and according to other sources, Chatan is free at the eve of the wedding. In those days it was 3 days, but in our days, because it's a different state of mind, so Chatan is obligated, it's only the first night. Regarding to the praying at the top of the fig tree or olive trees, so they said that the laborers are allowed to do it, but not the other trees, and the owners need always to go down. Regarding to doing some type of work while you need to say Shema, it's a time to say Shema and you are at the working place. So we say that the first portion, the first parasha of Shema, you can stop, it's very short time, and you can make those prayers, not the others. If you do a labor work that you get paid for that, so you have to make an abbreviation of prayer, and you have to make an abbreviation of the grace after meal. But again, if you get the permission, if the owners agreed, so they said you should make the entire blessing. The Shulchan Aruch said, ובימינו כל הפועלים מברכים הכל, שהמנת כן סוחרים אותם. So there is a concept that in nowadays, as I said many times, you have to ask a permission. Regarding to a mourner, we said that a mourner we treated in a different stage. Onen, which we'll talk tomorrow, Onen is a state of mind before burial, it's one category. Avel is a state of mind after burial, it's two different categories. So the discussion is over putting tefillin. Avel, we said that not put tefillin on the first day after burial, but regarding to take shower, regarding to idea of a different state of fulfilling mitzvot, saying Shema and doing other mitzvot, it's a huge difference between Omen and Avel, and it's also a difference between the first day, the first 3 days, and the other days of Shiva, which we'll discuss tomorrow.
ציר חסדו קהילו